Hari Om girls, welcome back to part 2 of validation control discussion. So in the part 1 video we have discussed what is a validation control, why validation controls are important in a web application development, what are the 6 types of validation controls available. Okay, we will take the same example program, demo program, the online tutorial system user profile application. Let me open the application now. So my home page is this one. Let me go to the design editor. So this is the design editor. Okay. Now what I have to do? Okay. So this is my design editor now. Now what we want here? I want to have full name and the user must enter a full name. So if he does not enter this data, it must not take me to the next web page. So when I click the submit button, what it wants? It must take me to the second web page, right? So we will have response as we did in the previous demo program, response to redirect. Where we want it to be redirected, I want it to be redirected to the welcome form, correct? So you type welcome form dot aspx and let us take a query string also. So full name is equal to, what will be the full name? The data I have entered here, right? So this is text box 1. So whatever data you have entered here in text box 1, that must be taken to the next web page. So this is as simple as that. It is somewhat similar to your previous demo application login page, right? And when I come to the welcome form, instead of having username here, I want to have the full name. That's it. This is a very slight change that we are going to do in our program. Now let us see what happens. I run the program. It's opening the welcome form. No, I want to have the home page. I run it from the home page. Okay. When I click submit, it is taking me to this next web page, but you can see here without name it appears. I go back and I'm going to type my name. I type my name, I click submit. Now it takes me to Anita Haridas, right? Next web page. Now the problem is when I click the submit button, it must show me that, see, there is no value entered here. This is a required field. There is no value entered by you. Please enter the value, only then I will take you to the next web page. So if this is done, it becomes a client side user input data validation. So that is what we are going to try to achieve here. Let me go to the application now. Yeah. So what I have to do? I need to add a validation control. So observe here carefully. In the toolbox, you have a tab called validation, and there are 6 different types of validations available. All the 6 validations are listed here. Now, what is the validation I want to add for this text box? I want to have a required field validator. some value must be entered in the full name text box. Only then it must take me to the second web page. So what I do, I go to the validation tab. I select the required field validation, required field validator. I double click on this so it comes here, right? And in the same way, I need email ID also to be entered. So again, I click required field validator. So required field validator I have added, and third required field validator I have added for mobile number. Fourth required field validator also I have added. So all these four values must be entered. Only then it will take me to the next web page. Fine. Okay. Now what I have to do, I have to associate this control to this text box, associate this control to the second text box, associate this to the third text box, and this one to the fourth text box. So what you have to do, go and set the properties of these validation controls. So go to the properties of this validation control. So this is the interesting part here. I go to the properties of required field validator 1. Now when you see the properties, you have here one property called as control to validate. Make a note of it. The property called as control to validate. So it says that which user control you want to get validated by this validator. I repeat, the control to validate specifies which of these user controls is to be validated by this validator. So this is actually a validator. So it needs some user control to get it validated. So that has to be specified. So what I'm going to do, I just click on this drop down box and it will show you there are 4 user controls available. I go for text box 1. This is text box 1. So I take this validation control to validate text box 1. And not only that, when I am validating, if it is not a valid data, I need some error message to be displayed. So what you have to do, go to the error message property, go to the error message property, then you can type please enter the full name. Okay, and if you want font color and font to be set, that can also be done. So now it is in black color. You can go and select blue color. Whatever color you want, you can select that. Okay, and whatever font you want, that can also be selected. Okay, so let us see what happens now. I go and execute the program. So when we run previously, what happens? Even if I don't enter, okay, if I want to add the required field validator, all the required field validators must be associated. Sorry, so I go to the validator here. For the second validator, I want to associate it with text box 2. So go to the control to validate, select text box 2. What is the error message you have to give? You can say enter a valid email ID. Please enter email ID and change the font color to, let me go for some other color. Okay, right. The same way, third validator, control to validate will be the third text box and select some other color. Let me go with pink. Okay, required field validator, you can say please enter mobile number. Fine. Go to the fourth validator. Go to control to validate, select the fourth text box and go to the error message. Change the error message to enter the percentage of marks. Okay, so all the 4 fields we have added now. Save it. Let us try running the program. Yeah. So when you run this program, you can see you will have an error message something like this. You are going to have an error message something like this. Okay. So whenever you have validation controls, you need to have an unobtrusive validation mode for executing this application. What do you want? You want an unobtrusive validation mode for executing this application. So let us see how to correct this unobtrusive validation mode and let us see how it gets executed.